Well, one of the things I said to Goldberg one time on Friday was there must be a rumor. If you want to get a trial together, you have to start with
Okay, so you're good. This seat is available.
Oh, okay. All right. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Over there.
Appreciate you.
You're good.
So how would anybody know what time it is?
Does anybody really care?
6 to 4. In Chicago, but what is it here? Yeah, here it is. We're late, ladies and gentlemen. Uh-oh.
Jazz time.
That means they're going to have to go into overtime at this point, and then it's going to be time and a half for you guys to help pay them. So, thank you for coming. We're very pleased to have we're pleased to have Vernaculars here. I don't think there's an article on the thing. We never really discussed it. Didn't really discuss it? Okay.
You mean like an article in a newspaper?
Something like that. You got a lot of PR work done, right? Well, look, you filled the room.
That's right.
Good job. Vernaculars. So I will introduce them if you don't mind. Right? We got Francis Wong here on saxophone. We got Karl Evangelista on guitar. Back there we got Trinidad on bass. And then way tough back there amidst all that hardware, that's Bialla.
Yeah.
Right? So they got 2 sets of music for you. We'll give a little break in the middle. Thank you for paying your cover charge. That helps me pay the band. I guarantee you that go home and thank by everything to be so rich by the end of this week. Anyway, enjoy yourselves. Thank you for the music in advance. We just assume that those thanks are appropriate.
That's right. That's right.
Okay?
The night is still young.
It is young. Yes. We're
How-
getting older, but the night is young.
How about a hand for Eric Whittington and Tom over there? The Bird and Beckett thing. We are so grateful to have this space in our community. Oh. How about a hand for Eric Whittington? For Tom in the back running the sound. And a hand for Bird and Beckett, our sacred space. So we are going to do a little, we're involved in a project to, what do you call it, excavate my musical history. And so the folks up here in the band are blessing me by playing this music and carrying through these steps. And we're going to start with, I guess, the 80s and the 90s. And so this first piece we're going to do is called Great Wall, and it was a song of resistance. And so back probably in the 1930s. And so we will proceed with that. Now, we've played a little slower, but now we're going to do resistance tempo, right? Okay, so. Thank you, thank you. So we're going to continue with a piece that I wrote in 1985 as part of a movement in San Jose to seek justice in the killing of a young black man named Melvin Truss. And I wrote this piece. I was part of a student group called Potential that came out of the Black Student Union at Stanford at the time, and we would play this piece at benefits for the family, just part of getting the word out, because at that time they were trying to kind of basically diminish Melvin's humanity, and by ignoring it in the press and all that. So this piece and our efforts was part of trying to bring attention to that. And actually a couple of people in the audience were part of that movement as well. Joyce Nakamura and Julie Hatta were active in that. Part of the Rainbow Coalition from just the Jesse Jackson years. So we're gonna go to the 90s. Don't have much time, right? So, and my mother passed away in 1997, and she and her, through her family, gave me this legacy of the sense of the diaspora, because she grew up in this place called Mauritius. It's in the Indian Ocean, so I remember when I was getting into music, I was listening to an LP from this group called, I think it was Magic of Juju. It was this one, a message from Mozambique. And it was an African drums record, basically. And then my mother came and said, "Where did you get that music? That's the music I grew up with," which of course that was kind of, at that time, it's like, well, oh, yeah. She grew up in an African context. And so in some ways there was a connection to some of the music that I was starting to explore. So I did an oral history with her back in around then, and fairly soon, well, maybe a few years before she passed away, and I kind of turned it into a little story that I'm going to read with this composition I wrote the year that she died, called La Chine Africaine, which is a reference actually to La Fleur Africaine, which was Ellington, right? So anyway, let me find this. Okay. My name is Noella. In 1927, when I was 6 years old, I traveled with 4 of my sisters from Guangzhou, Republic of China, in a steamship to the island nation of Mauritius. Mauritius, then a British colony, was almost 5,000 miles away. We were sent away because my mom died in the Pearl River trying to escape a fire on a ferry boat, and my dad decided he could not take care of all of us. My eldest brother and sister stayed behind. My dad had been born in Mauritius, actually, but that is a long story. I was met there by my grandmother and 2 aunties. They kind of looked Chinese, like my father, but they did not speak my language of Cantonese. They only spoke French. I only spoke Cantonese. I cried so much. We lived in a village compound where my grandmother and my aunties helped with the Catholic Church. They ran an outdoor school and a medical clinic. Most of the people there who lived there were Black African. My grandmother was considered Creole as she was a mix of Chinese and French ancestry. I eventually could speak French and English. Mauritius had been a French colony before the British took over and was largely a francophone culture. We were very poor. I did not really understand, as our dad had a very successful business in China. I even worked as a child. I learned how to be a sewing woman doing piecework. I remember us having a feeling that we had been abandoned. Nevertheless, I had fun and happy moments. The weather could be very beautiful. The beaches were clean and the sand was quite warm. It was very relaxing at times. It was also exciting to ride on the giant tortoises. I also had a pet monkey named Munyuk. Oh, how playful and mischievous he was, grabbing my food and running off. And of course, I would run after him, pretending to scold him. As I got older, I found out that I could learn. Somehow, I was able to learn bookkeeping. I was quite a sight as I took the certificate exam when I was only 12 with all of the adults. This and other skills would mean I could have a job during the war and after. Even though I was young, I was put to work teaching the church school. I taught arithmetic and reading to our neighbors. Our neighbors were great and we all got along. However, even though we lived together in the compound and my family served everyone in the community, we were not to mix. My best friend was a Black African girl and I was told not to be her friend. I did not follow what I was told. I did not go for it. I enjoyed the social life in the public square, the plaza. Often, pretty much every week, our neighbors would play their drums, dance, and sing. I will always remember that music. I also really enjoyed the food we had. Lots of fruits, lots of bananas, mangoes, and breadfruit. Also the chilies for spicing the food. You could just eat them raw off the plant. My aunties would say, "How could you do that? Those are really hot." They told me that I must not be a sensitive person because I could stand the heat. I would just laugh. One year, though, I got very sick with malaria. Oh, I suffered. I remember crying every moment for my aunties to give me the quinine medicine to help me. I even had hallucinations. I eventually got well, but they say it stays with you as long as you live. Most of all, I loved my sisters. We all had pretty French names. They were pretty and they were pretty French. Celestine, Brigitte, Nora, Rose. We got along well, which really helped when life was hard, which was all of the time. And it got even harder when the war came. In 1939, a big war was going on in Europe. World War II. China was already at war with Japan, although my dad was now in the British-held Hong Kong. So strangely, as British subjects in this island paradise, we were pretty unaware of what it all meant. My dad decided to bring us sisters back to Hong Kong, leaving my grandmother and aunties behind. He had started a branch of the Dutch Friesland brand and figured out how to sell dairy products like sweetened condensed milk and ice cream to Chinese people. You can see the condensed milk still in the store over there. He had decided that he did not want us to marry anyone in Mauritius. We will always be connected to Mauritius. When my sisters and I got to Hong Kong, I could speak French and English, but no longer could speak Cantonese. I would have to figure out how to be a proper Chinese. I would relearn the language and ways in Hong Kong. The war was coming. I would, with my family, become refugees. Also, in our own way, we would join the fight for our country. Thank you. Fire. What was next? So, actually, we're going to go to this song I wrote called Fire this time, and it's kind of a homage to James Baldwin. He wrote a very important essay on race in America called The Fire Next Time, and it was part of a larger work I'd written, kind of starting to work on it in the 90s about the history of the Third World Strikes. And so I like to choose this one because this one kind of was where Karl Evangelista entered the story. I think this was like the first song I had you play. 2004. Like 20 years ago, right? He hardly looks 20 years old, does he?
I'm Filipino. I think I can pass early 30s if I switch.
Yeah, back when we started playing together, before we started the gig, I would say, you know, Karl, this mouthpiece is older than you are. Yes. Yeah, you haven't caught up to it. You haven't caught up to the mouthpiece yet. Hello? Yeah. So this next piece is we're gonna close it off with something a little, try to relax it a little bit. But it's called the High River. And for those of you who know the city of Tianjin, it's the river that goes through the city. And in my father's time, it was actually Tianjin was a deep water port because the big ships could come all the way up the river and, dock there. And when I took my dad to visit China after it was more than 50 years, and we were staying at the Hyatt, which is right above the river, and my father would get up in the morning at dawn and watch the river, because in his idea, the river was his history and was the history of China, which oftentimes, if you know some of the literature, like in particular, there's a poem by Langston Hughes that says, what is it, how the Negro talks of rivers. And like one of the phrases from it is, I've known rivers. And so it's really about time. It's really about time. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And with that, I think we're going to take a break. Is that what you had in mind, Eric? Yeah. Okay. Karl Evangelista on the guitar. Mr. Jimmy Bialla on the drums. And we have Chris Trinidad, CT, on the bass. And I am Francis Wong. Thank you very much. Well, we're into the 2000s, so it goes to Little Boys next. And Lucy Jing after that. Thanks for coming. Thank you. Oh, sure. Yeah. Take care, huh? Well, Bob, thanks for coming. Appreciate it. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, working on it. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Yeah, it's a nice crew. Yeah. Hey. Oh, thank you. Oh, sure, sure. I know it's late, so. Thank you. Yeah. Or they're in the back smoking a joint. I don't know. Well, thanks a lot. Yeah.
So, hello, hello. Yeah, we got tickets for them. Yeah. My right hand, I couldn't use it at all, and now I no, no, I just take a look at it. See how it is. I have it. Yeah, right. This is nice poetry by my neighborhood on my street.
You want to talk to Carl?
Oh. Even if you just silently send it to her, that's fine.
Whenever I'm grateful, I keep drugs. And yeah, like because they're going to use it. But yeah, there's no other reason. Yeah,
There's there are places birds find their way
she's already leaving it. She's like, oh, Rochester.
and that's how they find their way back home.
Funny as well.
But there are places
You can get houses
where
anywhere in downtown.
buildings and other parents they cannot they get lost because they can't find their way home. Oh yeah, that's right.
How big is it? Like, how many bedrooms are there? Let's say.
Yeah, now they changed it. They got rid of advanced suggestions. They changed it now. This year they dropped that.
What do you think?
Oh, he was at the music center at that street a couple of times. They taught there.
It's a college town. It's an Ivy League college town.
I don't know exactly the same. Not the format. Paramount.
Could have been more Marcus Shelby.
Okay.
But that's not.
I would have been there. We go here.
It's the cost of not having to work for classes. Like, you know, I can imagine the health company, it's similar.
Yeah, it's good.
No, I haven't lived there. Well, I read articles.
We used to like I think that was still like affected the housing structure price. Oh, honestly,
Well, I'm still stacked up. And I wish I was 6'1". I'm talking about the clutter in my house. Oh,
how many years?
so how's your house?
Yeah, no, not just
He was pretty pushy about it.
Just happened to have a bag of books, you know?
I wear a very mild proof. We read on
Well, I had to buy one, you know?
Yeah, my son was bringing books to other people. In fact, someone told me recently, I don't know if it was he was having, they gave the name of work there for you. When I asked him,
that's some
yes, you can, which is book.
There's so many.
yeah, that's
I would like to say that. Well, you know what? Yeah, how she actually. What?
it's like whenever I hear it, I'm like
No, wait. Before she opened.
once I guess
The other thing is she said, I love my TV. I can have one or two. If I have three, I'm under the table. If I would have
so yeah,
four, I'm under the
so
table.
much yeah.
Right to the top. Yeah.
One weekend, there's gonna be
And those boys are all right? They're all fine. And Dan and Neil are getting married? Yeah. In September. He lives in LA. Yeah, he was.
I wasn't helping. I was being like trying to get but no, I've been literally 29. Yet 26 was yeah, so I mean today
No, the town. Well, there's also on the street. Those people. I know.
this one this
Get off
set
that.
you can have a main you can have knowledge but I've been doing regularly for the past week and it's been I saw last week
Yeah, they went
one
to
point he was some Arsenal not here
setting up here. Pretty exciting.
I am. Oh yeah. Twice.
When's the baby due?
No.
Twice.
Probably have like high.
Oh, very soon. Very fast.
Obligated myself. Is that on your the mobile?
Yeah, I used to live in Shelby.
I think I do. I vaguely remember. So I'm gonna make it.
You had been sexual.
Do you know if it's a boy or a girl?
Sorry?
Do you know if it's a girl?
Is she?
Oh.
It was all day.
Yeah.
Lunch, dinner.
The latest before having a gender reveal party. Wait, there was a right before they died.
Pardon me?
Before having a gender reveal party right before they died. Gender reveal party.
They should figure it out. People are very confused with this. Very confused.
Thank God. I wasn't sure. Like, what's the point? I was here at the first. It did? I guess it makes sense. Did he have an intermission? I seen it like. I have no idea what he's being pretty covered. I've been in Longmore and before I was playing a lot on eating I made this. Oh, but I think we were there. I like
Yeah, that's not. Either that or it'll be a short set. Amazing all the books these guys crammed in here.
like it's not there isn't a lot of like bar access happening in mostly in Delhi. I can't.
What did you say was talking?
Eric. So just let us know whenever. Oh, okay. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for staying with us. And we'll continue with a shorter set. We'll go till 10:30, but we still got a lot of energy up here, so we'll let you have it. So what we're gonna start with is a piece that I wrote in 2005. So we're up into the aughts. We made it to the aughts. And so this piece is called "Ghosts of Little Boy." Ghosts of Little Boy, and I wrote this as part of the commemoration 60th anniversary of the bombing of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. And Little Boy was they actually named the bombs that they dropped on Hiroshima was Little Boy, and the bomb that they dropped on Nagasaki was called Fat Man. And I think there was a movie called Little Boy and Fat Man. I think it was a Paul Newman where he played the general. So anyway, and then recently there was this movie Oppenheimer, and so we kind of seem to be called to play this piece again. So the idea is, it's called Ghosts of Little Boy, and the idea is that ghosts are unresolved souls, just like the issue of nuclear weapons is still an unresolved question in our world. Okay, now we're into the teens. In 2010, I was commissioned to write a piece to work with this Chinese traditional instrument group called Melody of China, and I was allowed me the opportunity to pursue some of my parents' stories, and this one is called Wu Xi Jing, which is the song of my father's side's ancestral homeland. It's this place called Wuxi, which is I guess it's like maybe 2-3 hours outside of Shanghai. Sometimes it's called Little Shanghai, although it's got millions of people there. But yeah, so once you kind of start it, I'm going to tell a little story. I was practicing this song in my room because I was trying to study the Chinese fiddle, the erhu, and it's a 2 strings. And I was the teacher, Jiebing Chen, who worked with John Zhang. She was giving me lessons, and I was playing this song, and then my dad comes out and says, "Don't you know that that's the song of our ancestral home?" So I guess it takes some of these things. I think some of the OGs earlier were talking about some of our challenges of passing on our cultural legacy. And so my dad goes, so that this is my dad's chance to pass on the family story. Because, dinner time, no, we didn't hear. The only moving of the mouths was chewing the food. And so this was his opportunity to kind of tell us a little bit. And so he was from this, his father was from this place called Wuxi, and his father, his grandfather, my dad's grandfather, was in this place called Pavilion of Hope, and there were 18 families in this London Village part of this town, and it was called all 18 families were named Wong, and their local industry was they grew rice and they made whiskey. So in some ways we have bootlegging history in our family. And so I guess my grandfather, I guess it would be my great-grandfather, actually he made enough money to get this piece of land to grow the rice by selling joss paper and incense in front of a temple. So some of you, joss paper is a Chinese paper you burn as part of the ritual, And so he kind of, I don't know, I guess that's one of the things about a lot of us. Well, I know for Chinese, if there's some business to be made, we're going to make that business. So he made enough money selling joss paper. He started out with the push cart, kind of like those folks pushing around the creme brulee or whatever, And so he had made enough to buy a little bit of land and to grow some rice and to make some whiskey. And one of the things that we kind of passed on to my dad and to me and my brothers was this sense of, well, you know, you gotta do a little business to survive. And I remember this place. There's a place called Suzhou, which is very nearby, and that's where my grandfather and grandmother were buried. Well, they're not buried; their ashes are over there. And I just have this memory. See, this is part of, you know, when we talk about ancestral memory. I have this memory. We went there. This was 2001, and we went because my father had not seen his parents since he had left China to flee during the revolution. And so we went to this place, and you guys know what cicadas are? Locusts? So this place had maximum locusts, and it was just like the sound was deafening. And then the time we went, this was in early September, and it was so hot. So who knows whether I'm just telling the truth. I just felt very feverish. And oftentimes I think that some of the pursuit of my ancestors, the pursuit of my cultural legacy is sometimes very feverish. Thank you. We will continue with, I guess, the 20s. We're up to the 20s. Fast forward, right? So now, a piece that I've recently rebooted, so it counts in the 20s, is a new arrangement of a piece that is now called Remembrance Rising. And I wrote this as part of this arrangement as part of a piece that I created with a couple of dancer choreographers, Flo Kim and Lin Wong. And we had text, and it was dedicated to the memory of the comfort women in World War II. And we performed it in front of there's a memorial in St. Mary's Square that's it's called Tower of Strength. It's dedicated to the comfort women of World War II. That was a euphemism for the sexual slavery trafficking that was going on in the war. And primarily Korean, Chinese, Filipino, and women were a part of this. And so we did this piece, and well, hopefully we'll do it again, but this is part of the musical score for this. Part of this process of excavation. Hey, maybe we need to hear from some of the other members of the band here. So, Chris, belly up to the bar here and tell us about excavation. The soon-to-be Dr. Chris Trinidad. Right? Soon, right?
Thank you. Well, first of all, thank you again to Eric, Tom, and Beckett for having us here. I guess excavation goes back to a series that Francis and I had the opportunity to co-curate.
Wait a minute.
Last year, I guess I'll have to use the microphone.
Well, that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to do what your doctorate's going to do, is to amplify your...
We hope. Dissertations often languish in libraries and collect dust. So let's hope that it can make a difference.
Do a musical version of it.
Yeah, well, we can.
Well, they
Be
did
interesting.
Hamilton. Maybe we can do,
I don't think my topic will be nearly as interesting, but we can give it a try. Sure. Anyway, as I was saying, Francis and I had a chance to co-curate a series that we call Directions in Music Making. Directions. It's a really long title, and we had somehow fit it on the poster. It was Directions in Music Making by Asian American and Asian Canadian. That's me. Improvisers, right? And we had the series at a place called Sky Cafe in South San Francisco, a nice vegan restaurant. Sadly, no longer in existence, but for the time that we were there, we had a chance to bring together a number of artists, many of whom were associated with Francis and his work. I don't know if you know this, but Francis and John Jang, I don't know if John is still in the audience, but they co-created the legendary record label called Asian Improv Records. And so there's a lot of music that has been documented by the Asian American jazz movement, thanks to Francis and thanks to the efforts of John. And so anyway, going back to the co-curated series, we had a chance to bring people together. For me, it was a selfish desire to learn this music, because I come from Vancouver, British Columbia, and but I had no idea that all of this existed here in the Bay Area. And so it was an opportunity to learn and to, as Francis said, excavate. And so this project actually had its beginnings at Sky Cafe. And yeah, it's been an adventure ever since. And so, in fact, tonight we're playing Francis's music, and we plan to take this into the studio. So I guess it's no longer going to be excavating. What would you call it? Transforming. Yeah, making. Yeah, so bringing. Those are more expensive PhD words. I don't know that. But in any event, we want to bring this music and bring it to new audiences so that new ears and new hearts can hear it. And so, I guess let's continue with Remembrance Rising. And there we go. That's Excavation.
I want to recognize the distinguished gentleman from Richmond to talk about vernaculars.
I don't want to belabor this. We're here to see music, but I'm firmly of the mind that music and political action, social connectivity, are all part of the same phenomenon. So this project is the realization of a long-time dream of mine that I've had of developing a working ensemble centered on Filipino American, Asian diasporic music. We're very thankful to have Francis here. Obviously, Francis is Chinese American and not Filipino, but I think this is actually one of the first projects I can think of in the creative music sphere to actually be majority Filipino American. Jimmy Biala, of course, in the back, probably going to have the microphone soon at the rate that we're... But it's crucial to me, when I first started playing with Francis some 2 decades ago, it was crucial to me to recognize that there were people who were trailblazing in the path of Asian American art, and specifically in the realm of Asian American jazz. There are surprisingly few Filipino American improvisers with any sort of visibility in the music in 2025. And so we kind of toil here, not that we're toiling, Beckett's a fantastic place, but but we toil here in the process of making music specifically because, especially at a time such as this, when immigrants are imperiled, when people of color are imperiled, when the arts and education and other institutions of social connectivity and information and political and cultural realism, when these situations are imperiled, we toil here because it's a matter of rhetorical and conceptual and artistic necessity. So I thank you here for joining us and participating in this process, because this process is part of combating whatever is happening in this regime, in this very surreal situation right now. And I hope that we get an opportunity to continue to air this project, to play Francis's music, to play everyone else's music in this band, because I genuinely believe that spaces like Bird and Beckett are of the utmost importance in steeling us toward whatever's going to happen in the next 4 years and beyond. Jimmy, want to say something? Because in all seriousness, okay, yeah. Jimmy's in he can't walk all the way up at the front. But anyway, thank you, Francis.
Yeah, let's have a hand for the distinguished gentleman from Richmond. And we'll close with this piece, Remembrance Rising, number 4. And this is an effort to kind of I think one of the things of one of my kind of influences is the work of John Carter and Bobby Bradford. And John Carter wrote, was it 8 CD thing about the history of African Americans, starting from the castles of Ghana to LA. Yeah. So anyway, so I think that set me as an Asian American composer and creative musician to try to that seems to be this idea of a sound parallel to our history, and so to how to encapsulate it in a piece of music a sense of the sweep of our historical experience. We have Karl Evangelista on the guitar. We have Jimmy Bialla on the drums. And we have our safety valve, our Canadian, on stage, Chris Trinidad. Make sure after the gig you make friends with him. And I want to thank Bert and Beckett. We got Eric. We have Tom. We have all the literature of the world. Yeah. That's right. There's a lot of souls in these shelves. And I want to just thank you all for coming. My name is Francis Wong. Thank you. Thank you.
Picture?
Oh yeah, band picture. Well, thank you for bearing with my thing.